can't happen at all. So it's just like, how did you find the fans' whole reaction to that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, not everybody was happy about that. Thank you. But there were people who supported it, and so I heard from both sides on Twitter, and you know, going in that that's probably going to be a situation. So it's fun. It's nice to hear people both sides, but it didn't stop me from doing anything, or you know, thankfully it didn't create too much heartache for me.
Oh, that's good. And we also talked a bit about the fitness regimes for a lot of it, and Stephen always used to post his, you know, the Arrow workouts, and we know he's really good at the salmon ladder. Did he ever challenge you to the salmon ladder, the ninja thing?
He didn't challenge me. I did do the salmon ladder in an episode. Thanks.
It's tough, right?
So here's a story about it's extremely tough. So here's a story about that. I had never done it before. And I certainly wasn't training like a crazy man like Steven, so I wasn't in quite as good a shape as he was. And they had written it in the script. So I was doing my best to train, but I didn't have a salmon ladder, so how do you train for that? And then the day before we were supposed to shoot it, I worked with a stunt team for like 2.5 hours. And I did it really well a couple times, like 3, ching, ching, ching.
Is it in Netflix?
But then my muscles would not respond to anything. I was burnt out. I could not even, I could do nothing. So then we had to film it the next day, and I could barely do it. So I'm not really proud of the finished product, but it looks okay. We made it work through movie magic, but.
Don't you just kind of wish that they'd shot the rehearsals?
They should have shot the rehearsal, exactly.
Just keep it rolling all the time, because you never know when that's going to happen. Right. And DC, through the CW, have done incredibly well with all these shows and the crossovers. I mean, starting with Arrow and then going on to The Flash, and now we have Supergirl and Legends, and it's just absolutely gone crazy. And I think the crossovers have been a really unique way to hook.
Yeah.
And when we look at that, why do you think it is that, because obviously I think Marvel have done insanely well on the big screen, DC's taken it over on the small screen. Why do you think DC have done so well on the small screen with these shows?
I think it's a focus on character. I think in relationships. I think that the reason Marvel films work so well and the reason the DC television world works so well, specifically the Arrowverse, is because of the concentration on character and the relationships between the characters. So we care about them and we care about the relationships. So like on a show like Legends, you can do crazy stuff with us. And sometimes it just really doesn't make sense, but you go with it because you love the friendships that have been created and you're there to watch that. So you care about those characters who are disintegrating in the Marvel Universe because you've seen the journey they've gone on and they've taken the time to develop that. They're not just showing this is the superhero and all of his powers and all that he can do, but what's his relationship to everyone else in the world?
And obviously having the chance to work on all these shows and get involved with all these iconic characters, who are your favorites and who are your least favorites?
In comics or in DC?
Yeah, in the DC universe that you're currently in, who are the characters that are your favorite ones?
He's in DC.
Obviously, apart from your own.
Coming up soon.
Nate.
Yes! Yes! Is Superman there?
Nora.
Huh?
Of course.
I love my Legends. I love working with Grant, Flash, and Candace, and all the Flash crew. That was the first crossover I really did, was going on when Ray and Felicity went over to the Atom. So I'm fond of those guys because they were, and Carlos, they were my first kind of non-Legends family, other than Arrow, of course. And Emily, I mean, she was, she's the best, and I always cherished the opportunity to work with her.
Is there a superhero in the DC universe that you would love to play if you were given the opportunity to?
I mean, love to play? I don't know. I'd be interested in playing other ones. I've already played the two best characters there are, so it's hard to say what else, what I could do better than that. You know, a villain always would be a fun turn.
What about the Marvel universe? If you had to flip over, is there anyone in Marvel's universe that you'd like to take?
I get that question a lot. I wouldn't want to I wouldn't want to replace Benedict because he's fantastic. But I love I love the world Doctor Strange lives in.
Yeah.
I think that's so cool. The whole metaphysical, spiritual aspect I'm into. So being a part of that world would be pretty cool.
Now we had Katie Cassidy here last year, who was fantastic. She was so much fun, absolutely lovely. So, do you guys kind of like get to hang out with each other when you're off set, or do you just kind of go off and go your separate ways?
Television shoots pretty quickly, so we tend to stay on set. And we have our chairs or a little actors' lounge area that we hang out while we're shooting the same scene. So yeah, they're definitely sit around and chat, but a lot of times, just like in normal life, you have enough of someone after a day, and everybody sits around on the phone and does whatever. Oh, did you see this video?
Now, tell me if I'm wrong on this. It was just a little factoid that I pulled up. I believe you originally tried out for a role of a character called the Blue Beetle on Arrow. Is that true, but they didn't have the rights for it at the time, or is that just some nonsense out there in the universe that I've pulled up that's nonsense?
I mean, there may be some truth to that in just that they wanted to bring on the Blue Beetle, but they weren't. The rumor that I heard was that. But I didn't try out. It was only ever mentioned to me Ray Palmer, the Atom. It may have been that they wanted to bring Blue Beetle in, and they couldn't, so then they went to Ray Palmer at the Atom. But that's conjecture on my part.
Okay. And Brandon, since you obviously did Superman Returns and coming into the rest of the DC universe now, technology has changed movie filming and TV filming exponentially. Probably in the last decade, it's gone crazy. Do you think it's giving more to the industry or taking away? Because we have so many CGI'd characters these days. As an actor, do you feel it detracts from you, or should we embrace CGI characters?
Embrace it. I think it's a give and take, and it's a partnership, just like anything. The technology allows us to tell different stories and allow the impossible to happen. It allows a man to fly in a different way. It's good to have both. I grew up with movies like Dark Crystal and Labyrinth. And to have actual puppets and puppeteers, and that artistry is amazing. And so I would never want to lose all of that, because there's just something about the reality of having that thing on screen that you can't replicate yet with CGI. But it's the way of the future, and I think you have to embrace it. But they do great things like the motion capture. I've done motion capture for many different projects for a video game that I did. And that's a pretty cool technology too. It's still using the actor, but in a different way.
I was going to say, who doesn't love Jim Henson, Labyrinth, and Dark Crystal? Two of my favorites are amazing. They were supposed to be making a Dark Crystal series, and I don't think it's happened.
It's on Netflix now.
So I need to get into that. And CGI and motion capture. When we look at actors like Andy Serkis, who's done Gollum, he's done all the Planet of the Apes, and he's actors that are doing the motion capture. Why do you think actors aren't being recognized as much for their motion capture work? Because it's still going through the motions, it's still putting the character out there. It's just so you have a team of the CGI guys doing all the overlays afterwards. Do you think that actors that focus on motion capture are still very much underrated and not getting the recognition that they should?
They are, and that's a shame. So you mentioned Andy Serkis. He's kind of the only person people know. But Terry Notary, who worked on the most recent Planet of the Apes films, who played several characters in the most recent, and really did an amazing job bringing them to life. I worked with him on Superman. He helped me. He's a former Cirque du Soleil member, and is all about movement. So he helped me with the flying, with walking, to be graceful and effortless. And I owe so much to Terry. He also worked on the latest Into the Wild. He's the dog in Into the Wild, and he's done countless other films. He's been incredibly powerful and moving, inhabiting, whether it's an animal or something else. Think of people like Doug Jones, who some people know of from his work in suits and characters and bringing a lot of Guillermo del Toro's characters to life. It's such a team effort, and it's so awesome that we have all these different ways to bring characters to life, but it would be nice if we could give them more notoriety for the work that they do.
Sure. And so you've been fortunate to be continually working in the acting realm for many years now. Along with successes in the role of an actor, there's obviously a lot of rejection that goes on as well. How do you, we have a lot of budding actors here in the UAE, there's a lot of people go to acting classes. What would you say to people wanting to get into the acting realm or take on acting as a career? We had Ross Marquand from The Walking Dead here last year, and he was like, before I got the role on The Walking Dead, I was broke, I was in debt, I was living in a garage, and it was like, that was the role that pulled me out of it. So what are your tips and advice to anyone wanting to get in to do what you do?
I won't tell you not to, but I would tell you that it's a very challenging profession, one that often has much more rejection than it does have the opposite of rejection, I guess acceptance. Acting can teach you many things about yourself, about humanity. I think everybody should take acting class in a way, because it allows you to inhabit somebody else's characters and feelings. And when you can do that, you have the opportunity for more empathy and awareness about somebody else's struggle and challenge. And that's the unique thing that we as actors get to do. We get to say, I'm not like this person, but I'm going to portray and bring to life the struggles and challenges of this person, so they can see, so that other people who are having similar can have that reflected, and they go, oh, there's somebody else like me. Somebody else has a challenge with this, and that's okay. So, I think if you go forward with it as a study of humanity, and your focus isn't fame and fortune, that helps. I think knowing, that there are also, what I tell actors everywhere, people that I would meet, is that just because you get into the business wanting to be an actor, don't let that allow for other opportunities. There are so many other opportunities in film and television that can come about, whether it's as a set designer, or for the sound team, or a producer or a writer. There are all these other opportunities that I like people to be open to those, because not everybody's going to make it in their chosen profession. So just to leave all doors open.
And I think, coming back to the technological side of it, the way things are going, you need all those behind-the-scene guys, the CGI guys, the sound effects guys. I think one of my favorites is probably the Foley artist that doesn't get enough recognition. They're a lot of fun. If you don't know what a Foley artist is, they're basically the guys that they create sounds, or they do footsteps on different surfaces and things like that, which is a lot of fun.
Make a bag of chips opening louder than it really should, but you need it. You need it to sound loud for television.
It's surprising what they come up with. We had a few guys in on the radio, and they were like, a water bottle along a surface is a car skidding on the road. Who comes up with that? It's crazy, absolutely bonkers. Are you surprised how well superhero characters are carrying on with being so popular these days?
No. I think sometimes we need we are all alike no matter where we're from. And as long as superhero content is pushing that, then I think it's going to be successful.
And I think a lot of it has to do with escapism also as well. You know, we can all get out of our daily grind, the daily lives, and go, these characters are awesome, but we can also relate to them in different ways as well.
Well, you get both. You have the escapism, but wrapped in that escapism, if it's just things blowing up and fantastical monsters, then you're going to leave the cinema going, what was that? Because you didn't feel anything. You weren't moved emotionally. And that's the core.
So away from obviously working in the DC realm, what's next for you? What have you got coming up?
Taking some time with my family and my wife and my son, moving back to Los Angeles. And we spent 5 years basically up in Vancouver where we shot Legends of Tomorrow. So getting used to living back in Los Angeles and enjoying that for now and until the next right project comes along.
So, with your little one, your little boy, has he got all the Superman gear and all the Atom gear, or are you going to go, no, you can't have anything from Marvel, it's all got to be DC?
Oh, no. First he was a big Flash fan, and so he got to meet the Flash a couple times, which was pretty cool. And then he got big on Spider-Man. Loved Spider-Man for a while. And now he's coming around to Superman, finally. So I'm finally getting some love as Superman.
And long may that continue. It's fantastic. And we obviously, I guess it would have been nice to see you in another big screen version of Superman, another movie. How do you? I'm going to ask the question. How do you feel about Henry taking it over? How do you think he's playing the role?
Well, I think he's done a fine job with the script and the story that he's been given. It's hard to compare. That story and that version of Superman is very different from Superman Returns. He couldn't have, if he had wanted to, he couldn't have done this version of Superman. I don't think it wouldn't have existed the same. I don't know that it would have worked in that world that was created. I don't agree with that version of Superman. But I don't blame Henry for that.
So which version would you like to come back to?
This one. I want Superman who promotes joy and love and togetherness and acceptance and unity and teaching humanity how to be better. Superman is super, and if he's just being Superman and not teaching, then he's not doing his job. He has to be there, in my opinion. I would want to see a story of Superman who is truly helping humanity find what unites them and heal them emotionally and spiritually in that way through togetherness, so that he phases himself out, so that he is no longer needed because humanity is not fighting itself.
So you wouldn't like him to see go in this. Way back in the day, I read the novel The Death and Life of Superman, and I think there are about 7 different versions of the character in that book, and it gets really dark and pretty nasty in places, so you wouldn't ever like to see the character go down that route.
Well, look, it's interesting to see people struggle. Superman in Superman Returns struggles. He's not accepted. He comes back. Lois doesn't want him around anymore. He has to prove that he's worthwhile and that he made a mistake. There are interesting things in Man of Steel, interesting ideas. In Kingdom Come, it's a very dark book and a series, and I think pulling aspects of that out are interesting to see him come through that to the other side. You just have to the other side has to be beneficial enough. He has to really learn from that and then help humanity. If Superman can't help humanity, then nobody can, and we're just on this ongoing cycle of destroying each other, which I, as a human, don't want to see. So that's what I want. That's, to me, that's who Superman is to me, and that's what, when I step into the suit, that's what I'm working to embody. That he is working to help teach people that they can be like Superman without the powers, but they can have awareness and compassion and gratitude for fellow humans.
Which is a great message. Don't we all agree? Yeah, absolutely. Did you get to keep the suit?
No, they don't let you keep the suit. No.
Did you get to pinch anything off set? Because we hear about people pinching little mementos off shows or films that they've worked on. Have you got a little cabinet at home of things that you might have taken?
No, I'm too honest. I have a Clark Kent business card that a couple of them that I had the props department gave me, and I have a couple of Atom 3D printed Atoms that are kind of broken because they gave me they had extra ones that were broken. They're very fragile. That would be used as props.
I'm slightly disappointed in that answer. I was hoping that you'd like, yeah, I've got like 3 of them at home. It's great.
No, I keep asking, and when I did Return as Superman, I asked about it again, but apparently from a legal perspective, they won't. That's what they said. They won't let you have it because, if I did something, tried to rob a bank or did something, I don't know what they think I'm going to do in a Superman suit, then they'd be held legally responsible or some insurance thing, I don't know.
How difficult is the Atom suit to move around in? That looks quite restrictive.
It is, but at the same time, mobile enough. Having spent 5 or 6 years wearing it, I got used to it. It's not something you want to wear all day, but for a couple hours, it's all right.
Is it one of those suits that you're like, now I'm in it, can't drink anything for the next 8 hours?
Well, I can get out. It's never been just 8 hours, but yeah, I conserve my liquid intake so that I don't have to use the restroom all the time.
I was going to say, the costume departments with those, they must have a great time with you guys, getting you into all these suits. They all look so uncomfortable to move around in, to be honest.
I was well trained from my time as Superman, so I was ready for it when the Atom came around. A very different suit, different deal, but similar and still in some ways. You have to have a lot of patience.
So I'm going to shut up now because I'm pretty sure you guys have got questions down on the floor. Have we got some questions for the floor from Brandon? Yes? You put your hand up? Yeah, okay. Are you okay, Brandon, if we take some questions? Do you want to come up here? We don't have another remote mic, so you're going to have to come up and use mine.
Hey Brandon, how are you? After your amazing comeback as Kingdom Come Superman, there's a rumor going on that you might get a show on HBO Max as Kingdom Come Superman again for one season, I guess. So, any chance it's going to be true?
Those are nice rumors. I appreciate the love and support that everyone has given, the return of Superman and the Kingdom Come in the Crisis. Nobody's talked to me about it, but I'd definitely be open if they ever did.
Would love to see a Superman again.
Thank you.
I really hope so.
Thank you. Who else wants to come up? Yep. I'm just going to call you Visor Dude.
Hi, Brandon.
Hi.
I have 2 questions, if I may. My first question is related to acting itself. I mean, so many times you would get a role that has been done previously by other people. For example, Superman itself. It's been done by so many people. So, of course, you get some, I would say, unfair criticism before they have even seen your acting. So how do you deal with that unfair criticism on the internet? How do you not let it get under your skin or something of the sort? And my second question would be that, knowing who this man is, he shares a universe with a Batman. So who would you want your Superman to share the universe with? Which Batman would he go up against? Thank you.
Which Batman? I like both. I like both Bale and Affleck. I mean, they, different versions of the character. I don't know. That's a tough question. Maybe it's even Michael Keaton because I just want to work with Michael Keaton. And he, I don't have to think about that one. I like all those guys. And the question about acting and negative opinions of other people, there always exist in life. So kind of have to have a thick skin, I guess. People's what we say in the States, but as long as there are some people who like it and appreciate it, the other people don't really matter. I listen. It's important to hear and allow for the opposite opinion. But I tend to feel pretty confident in the work that I do. And at least if I've at least got a couple people on my side, I feel okay about it.
It's back to that I was saying, you can't please all of the people all of the time, can you?
It's very true. The biggest thing that bothered me back in the day was, it was before social media, it was just forums. But it was when people would say I wasn't big enough. Because I took offense to that. Because I did all the work to get in the gym, but everybody wanted, there was always going to be somebody who wanted the Hulk as Superman.
But you're very active on social media. I follow your Instagram. You're on there all the time with your stories. Has social media helped or hindered, do you think? When it comes to building up characters and building up people's careers, yeah.
I don't think it helps with characters. I mean, it helps bring people into the family and engage and unite us and connect us. I think it can be, it's a double-edged sword. It can be good and bad. It's certainly nice to be able to know how the fans are feeling about things. And certainly with all that has happened in the last year on Legend of Tomorrow, it's certainly really appreciative of the show. Awesome to see how the characters help people through challenging times in their lives are very important and helpful for us, and it helps that much. We tell really bad puns on set.
Yeah, go on. Who's the worst pun artist?
Sorry, I'm not good at that.
Sorry. Any more questions out here? Yep, come on.
Brandon, what is that one question that you would want to get asked, but nobody has asked you so far in conventions like this?
I don't know. Talk about Superman and the spirit of Superman, and we did that, so.
There's nothing really outrageous or quirky or weird that you always just wanted someone to ask you?
No.
You're not wearing Superman underwear today?
No. Is anybody wearing Superman underwear? Hey, all right.
I can help you. Okay, your T-shirt. What made you buy that T-shirt?
That's a good question.
Yes.
So this T-shirt was bought because of my son. I have a 7-year-old son, but this is about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. He had a shirt, a gray shirt with a heart on it, and he wanted, and his mom had a shirt with a heart on it, and he wanted everybody to have a heart shirt. So Courtney, my wife, found this on the internet for me and bought it for me, and I like it.
That's so cute.
It makes me think of him.
Which actor do you want to act with?
Which actor do I want to act with that I've never acted with? I used to have good answers for that. Back when I was getting asked that question more often. There are so many people that I like to work with. Tom Hanks. Let's go with Tom Hanks for right now. Do you know who that is?
I'll have to introduce you to the movie Big, or something like that. Or more, I can't just see.
Sure, when I'm done, I'll sign one thing for you.
Who's got any more questions? I saw a couple over here. Didn't you guys have your hands up? Yeah, do you want to come up? You'll have to come all the way over here, I'm afraid.
Hey again. Which is the favorite character you like working with, and which costume do you like? This one or the Kingdom Come?
My favorite character to work with, I think, is Nick Zano, is Nate. The bromance is real, and we have a great time working together and just being silly and making up funny stuff to do and add it to the scene. And Superman, the new suit is my favorite. Yeah, it's This was a wonderful suit when it was made, but the other one is just, it looks even better and feels better, and yeah, really happy with the Kingdom Come suit.
Fantastic. Well, that's all the time. I'm going to take one more. Come on. I know you're going to shout at me if I continue over there, but.
Hi.
Hi.
If you weren't in acting, what would you be doing?
Well, originally, 20 years ago, before I started acting, I was going to school as an English major, and I thought I was going to be a writer and write fantasy novels. But before I got published, I would be in graphic design until I made it big writing.
And I think we've just about run out of time, guys. So, Brandon, thank you so much for joining us on the Comic Con stage. Let's give a big round of applause for Brandon. Thank you so much.
That ends our show. Brandon is gone. Superman. So that is Superman. And this is the spot. It's amazing. Everybody's wearing the costumes. See you later, guys. Thanks so much, Comic Con. I had a great day. Enjoy the weekend. Please, let's go. Thank you. Amazing. It's gone.